Thank you. Mr. Franklin is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Ducheneau, I'd like to continue with you for a little bit on Farm Service Agency matters. And when I talk to my ranchers, growers, and producers in Central Florida, the topic that comes up more than anything else is the struggle that they have with FSA. And it's not FSA in and of itself. I mean, they love the people who are there. They just continue to tell me that this is a group that's overwhelmed. They're understaffed. They're overworked. Good people are quitting. In many cases, these are people who grew up in the ag in the world. They love it. They want nothing more than to continue to give back to the industry. But they're just throwing their hands up and in many cases going other places. And it's just perpetuating the problem that we have. A year ago when Secretary Vilsack was here, I asked him about this and asked a number of questions. And he asked if we would collect data and submit that to him. We did last September in a letter with a whole laundry list of questions. We got an answer back on that 2 days before he testified to us. And he did reiterate it at the time, just I think it was last month, that according to all of FSA's metrics, USDA is basically fulfilling the requirements and the needs for the growers and the farmers. That's just not what I hear back home. I was just with a Farm Bureau group Saturday, and I shared with them what the Secretary had mentioned. And sadly, it was all laughter throughout the crowd, and not in a humorous kind of way, but kind of skepticism. We've got problems, and there seems to be a disconnect. One of the questions that we had asked, and the letter I sent back last fall, was that in 2018, USDA conducted an optimal productive office study to enhance the agency's understanding of staffing requirements, particularly in response to producer applications following natural disasters. That tends to be our problem in Florida. It's not a lot of the plug-and-play programs. It's the unique things in the aftermath of storms. Do you know what that study determined? We've not ever really found out what the optimal number should be, and is there an effort to staff to that number?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Franklin, and I owe you an apology. You did what I asked people to do and email me directly, and I dropped the ball on that letter in September, so my apologies for that. Yes, we continue to do analysis of the workload on our field offices, and the fact of the matter is, in every year since 2018, our staff have delivered an additional farm bill's worth of programs without any additional staff. We've done twice the work with the same number of staff, which speaks volumes for the dedication of the staff out in the countryside, and puts them in an unfortunate position and puts us in the unfortunate position as their leadership of having to exploit their passion for the work. And that shouldn't be the case. We should be able to have a conversation with employees that would lead them to want to stay in the agency. And part and parcel of that is being able to say, we're going to be able to pay you a reasonable cost of living increase next year and continue to help with the student loan repayment programs. Continuity of care, just like it is in healthcare, is important for our farmers out in the countryside. And if someone across the table from you at the FSA knows the history of your operation, they're going to be much better equipped to help you as these uncertainties arise from the natural disasters that your producers experience.
If I could jump in, and I appreciate that, and I know we're limited on time, but as my colleague and fellow Floridian, Ms. Wasserman Schultz, is fond of saying, budget reflects your priorities. When I look back over FSA's budget for personnel over the last 3 years, it's essentially flat. I understand. My understanding under the Farm Bill, you're not limited in specific headcount of FTEs. It would suggest to me that you're content with the number of folks that you have. It doesn't appear that you're asking for more money, and this is really an effort to understand, because this is bipartisan in my delegation and folks I talk with across the aisle that deal with ag issues across the country. We're scratching our heads trying to figure out, why can we not get more people here? Is this a priority for FSA? Because as your mission statement says, you're a customer-driven agency. The customers aren't real happy right now.
Thank you for the question. You'll see that in our 25 proposal, we did request a $37 million increase, and we did have increases requested in 24 for staffing, but we did not receive.
That wouldn't even cover the cost of living increase, really. I mean,
I agree.
So the effect, though, is you're not going to have more people next year based on the budget. You may pay the ones you have a little more, but you're going to have attrition, and you're not going to have the budget to replace them. So I don't see this problem getting fixed anytime soon. I would love to, I want to work with your office. It's a high priority. Representative Soto, my counterpart in adjacent district, we're working on a bill together that works on FSA issues. We really, really want to improve this. That's our goal here.
Welcome the opportunity to discuss that with you, sir.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could, just, we welcome the conversation. I also want to say one of the things we've done in Florida to help those producers is jump teams of additional staff to help, particularly in the wake of the hurricane and other things. I think that's a temporary solution, but
If I could, and Mr.
Yeah,
Chair, I'm sorry,
please.
just indulge me for a couple seconds. The feedback I get there is while that's appreciated, these folks come in not understanding the nuances of dealing in a hurricane aftermath, and the very understaffed folks that are there to help have to spend time training them up to figure out what's going on, and then in 3 weeks they're gone. Didn't really help the situation, and now the folks who were there are just farther behind. So it's well intended, but it doesn't work. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you very much. The gentlelady from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We welcome